there has been buildup with the prospect of war with Iran. It's sort of quelled a little bit at the moment. The back and forth kind of took a pause after the commercial flight was shot down in Tehran that was on its way to Kiev. There haven't been major movements since then. But there have been some posturing type movements. So with a series of U.S. military deployments, Washington is escalating its preparations for full-scale war with Iran. So the Pentagon has dispatched a squadron of F-15E fighter jets to Saudi Arabia. The newspaper Stars and Stripes, which is U.S. military, they cover U.S. military actions. They reported this on Thursday. Deployed at the Prince Sultan Air Base, the warplanes are in easy striking distance of ground targets inside Iran. Their deployment follows that of another F-15E squadron at the Al Dafran Air Base in the United Arab Emirates last October. The United States Air Force last month issued a statement announcing that its 378th Expeditionary Air Wing had resurrected what had been a major U.S. air base in Saudi Arabia 15 years ago, and that it, quote, grows daily. The head of the unit's operation group, Colonel Robert Raymond, said, quote, we turned what was just a patch in the desert to a full-up operating location. So ultimately, we're continuing to bolster air support, but also we learned that the Pentagon has already sent 4,000 soldiers from the 82nd Airborne Division to the region, as well as deploying in the Persian Gulf, 2,000 Marines aboard the amphibious assault ship, the USS Bataan. This has been joined by repositioning of bomber strike forces consisting of 6 B-52 heavy bombers to the U.S. military base on the island of Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean, a British colonial possession that was within striking distance of Iran, but beyond the range of Iran's longest-range missiles. On the one hand, this approach was designed to intensify U.S. imperialism's, quote, maximum pressure campaign against Iran, an effective economic blockade tantamount to war, and to enlist Washington's erstwhile allies in Europe to ratchet up the pressure on Tehran. So, numerous escalations. This article goes into more positioning. I mean, I gave you a little bit of a taste of troop positioning, fleet positioning, and Air Force positioning. We seem to continue to bolster this stance of how dare Iran get so close to our military bases kind of strategy.
Yeah.
Right?
If Iran didn't want to fight, why
Right.
did they put their country in the middle of all of our bases?
Yeah, we're basically playing footsies with them. Let's stay out of your range, but we'll kind of be in your range, and maybe we'll skirt with being within your range and see if that provokes an attack that we can have a disproportionate response for. This is that kind of escalation that is quiet and simmering and has the potential to blow up much bigger at the drop of a hat. Right, and I think that we got a taste of that after the Soleimani assassination, which was an extremely brash move on the United States' part. But the counter-response, particularly given Iran's alliances with militia groups that it doesn't necessarily have full command over, but they align with politically. So in that particular case, there was a little bit of that going on, where it's not necessarily at the direction of the Iranian government, but it's perceived as such, or America paints it as such and uses that as excuse to escalate further. All of these actions just have me worried, right? These are not the actions of global superpowers looking for détente. These are not the actions of those looking to de-escalate tensions. These are the actions of those who are looking to fight at any excuse that can be given that can seem reasonable. We're going to quietly put maximum force within striking distance from every direction in every possible mode, because we're ready. We are ready and willing to go to war. As soon as you give us the go-ahead, Iran, we're coming down with the full force. That's what this feels like to me. You have a little bit more military experience with how military strategy plays out. Do these type of maneuvers seem familiar? Does this kind of preparation ring true in any way? How do you interpret this?
Dog, I was just a grunt. Let me put that out front. But if we're talking about just history and stuff like this, I mean, it does feel a lot like 99 Red Balloons. I'm hoping and I'm optimistic because I see like a through line that won't play out for a year. And that's, yeah, if Trump goes to war before November, he's going to lose the election. I believe it. There's this concept that, that a president during wartime always wins. That was based off of 16 years of FDR. That's what the whole, like, the statistics or whatever you want to call.
Widely considered America's last just war, World War II.
Yeah. I also, if you think about it, you kind of watch it, there's been a lot of rhetoric revolving around people in Iran. They're like, we don't hate Americans. We hate your president. And when Trump was threatening Iranian cultural sites, they threatened his stuff, not America. And they made public statements about that. So I'm wondering if they're just biding their time to see, like, okay, let's see if he's out of office. Wait till he's out of office before we pop off. That's one of the through lines that I see, is possibly that if more escalation happens, it will be long after he's gone. And at that point, I really do wonder what the American stance would be on their actions. Like, say, a hotel in Turkey. I'm not cheering for any violence. I'm just trying to talk about, like, one of the paths I see this going.
Yeah. So one of the other things the article points out as a concerning point is our nuclear position. So calling out specifically Trident II missiles that are in submarines off the coast. As the current nuclear war plans are written, Arkin warns, the use of such a weapon could also be justified almost Hiroshima-like, as a shocking thunderclap to forestall a wider and theoretically more destructive all-out war. The reality is that the doctrine providing a preemptive nuclear strike against Iran was inherited by the Trump administration from the Democratic administration of Obama. The criminality of U.S. imperialism expressed in the Soleimani assassination and the far wider scale in the threat of a preemptive nuclear strike against Iran is a measure of the crisis of U.S. imperialism, which is driven to offset the doctrine of its global hegemony by a resort to devastating military force. That's, I think, a pretty cogent note to end the article on, and that is that, Trump's willingness to use military force, and particularly his willingness to use nuclear force, is still a possibility and should be widely and globally considered a negative possibility. But it's one that we all kind of have to just wait on pins and needles and hope it doesn't materialize. So, doom and gloom, everyone. Yay. Yep.
Yeah, considering that Trump has no object permanence, the biggest fear is that the wrong maniac gets through to him last.
Yeah.
Is always the case with us right now.
The last person in the room theory.
Yeah, the last person in the room to talk to him is what happens next. Because, Trump lacks object permanence. He couldn't find Rudy sitting across the table from him. So it's a scary situation we're in.